Hello everyone, and welcome to the first podcast on AGADMATOR's chess channel. The podcast doesn't yet have a name since this is the first one, and regarding if I will continue doing this, if you guys will enjoy it, if this time Maxime and I are going to enjoy it, I'm going to decide whether or not to continue with the podcast. But I'm very excited about this and hope you guys will enjoy it. So the guest for the first podcast is none other than Maxime Vachier Lagrave. Hello, Maxime.
Hello, Antonio. Hello, everyone.
That's a good one. Thank you. Thanks for that. You don't really need an introduction in the chess world, but I'm hoping more and more people will be joining our chess community, and that I do want everyone to feel welcome. So basically, in short, you are currently world number 5 on the ELO world rating list. You are number 2, I believe, in Rapid, and number 3 in Blitz.
I don't know the exact numbers, but probably something like this.
Yeah. But also, you've pretty much topped everything last year. After your performance in Grandchester, you were ranked number 1 in both Rapid and Blitz. And in 2016, you've
not at the same time, but yes.
Yeah. And in 2016, in August, you've been ranked number 2 in the world. So basically, you've topped everything other than that elusive classical number 1 spot, which Magnus is.
Yeah, I'm not the only one who have not manage that yet.
Yeah. So now that we're in this situation due to the coronavirus, the lockdown and everything, we've seen really like a boom in online chess, and you've been fairly busy. You've had the Magnus Invitational, you've had the Nations Cup, you've had the lockdown simultaneous exhibition on Lead Chess. So one thing that I myself and a lot of people have been wondering, does it only appear that way, or are there more blunders in online chess than over the board?
Yes, I was actually not expecting this month to be so busy, but it turns out that a lot of major websites and FIDE also made some plans. So when I first organized this online simul, I thought it would be a good way for people to spend some free time, but it turned out that there was not so much free time after all, but it was a fun experience. And as for blunders, clearly, I think yes. I think maybe not for everyone, but for a lot of persons playing, especially at elite level, where we have competitiveness only in terms of over-the-board play. It's more difficult for us to adjust to playing online. There are real stakes to it, but at the same time, we're not used to spending time online. Basically, I was only playing in 3+0 or 1+0 bullet games, basically online, and now we're playing like 15+10, 25+10, and that's for internet, it's very slow time control. So it's very difficult to adjust and to spend your time properly like you would do over the board. Also, I think 2 more things explain the blunders. First of all, we were playing on a 2-dimensional chessboard instead of an actual chessboard, and the visual representation you get is different, and it's easier to miss some connections that you will find easily on a chessboard, and online you just kind of miss it. And the last thing, and maybe the most important one, is clicking on the mouse and making a move is much less responsibility than actually touching a piece, moving it, and pressing on the clock. So that's and when you have less responsibility, or at least you feel like it, you're less careful, and it costs at the end.
So you're saying that your ability to recognize patterns is different in a 3D environment than in a 2D chessboard?
Yes, that's clear even from our chess preparation. So when we're preparing, visualizing lines on the computer, so we're making the moves, and we get to, let's say, the critical position, and then we have to make a decision. We're ready to play it or not. And when you see it, sometimes, you also have the computer telling you there's no problem, so you're saying, fine, this position is fine, so let's go play it. And then you come to the board, and now you're sitting in front of the board and you have your position, and then you start noticing ideas for white. If you're black, let's say you start noticing ideas for white, and you start to feel a bit uncomfortable. You see there was this other idea that I had maybe underestimated. And again, it's because the responsibility when you're at the chessboard and every move is important, and every moment you lack attention could cost you the game, makes you feel more burden at the chessboard than it does on a computer at your home. Of course, it's really different. Like maybe it would be different, for instance, if we play online but on a physical location. So like we're facing each other and we're moving the mouse, but you can see your opponent.
Yeah, maybe there's a factor of psychology.
Maybe there's also a touch move in place. So like if you click on the mouse, you cannot click back. You have to move that piece and so on.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. No pre-moving.
Yeah, also.
But then does it go the other way around? Are perhaps younger players who have been playing a lot more online than over the board, then maybe pattern recognition works the other way around for them? Maybe they're struggling a bit more over the board.
Yeah, it's very possible that if you've played online all your life, then suddenly the switch to the actual chessboard is different. Here, it's not that we've not been playing online. I mean, we're the first online generation, and I've played tens of thousands of games of bullet, but they weigh much less than an actual competitive game that you're playing from your home on your computer. And at least I can speak only for myself, but I feel the competitiveness a bit less, and I think that's also the case for a lot of the players, the other players.
But since you already mentioned bullet, when you play bullet, do you use your top preparation, or do you play funky moves like anything goes?
No, I like to play funky moves.
Funky moves, yeah.
No, sometimes it happens that online people play some preparation. Even in bullet games or blitz games where there's not much at stake, but yeah, we'll generally just play funky lines, and if I want to test out wheel weapons, I will probably log in anonymously and play with a sparring partner.
Okay. And regarding online rating, like I said, you've been #1 in Blitz, you've been #1 in Rapid, #2 in Classical. Does it bother you when you lose rating online, even though it's not actual rating?
At the moment, no. But of course, if there's like an official online rating with the competitive games we play, it might be a different story. But for now, yeah, if I'm not topping the list for bullet or whatever, I really don't care. But yeah, at the moment, because of course Magnus announced also that he's launching this tour, so official tournaments over the internet are gonna take a big proportion, at least under the lockdown situation we are in. Clearly, the idea would be to take it seriously, but not in terms of rating, of course, in terms of avoiding losses and winning some games, trying to win the tournament and so on.
Okay, so since you already mentioned the Magnus Invitational, you've took part not so long ago. What were your thoughts on playing it, on having 4 games every day? Was it exhausting? How was the overall experience? Not so much regarding your result, but just the play.
Yeah, no, I thought it was interesting. I thought, and I think the plan is to adjust it. I thought the knockout portion was too little. Like you have almost 2 weeks of preliminary play, and then only 2 days of semifinals and finals. I thought that was a bit of a weak point, especially that, for instance, in the last preliminary round, everything was done and over. Other than that, the idea of playing 4 games against the same opponent is a good idea. I mean, I think it's better than playing one classical game. I think a match of 4 rapid games is better to, evaluate the player's form and the player's shape. Of course, it was very exhausting. I was always feeling the need to rest at the end of a playing day. But other than that, I mean, I've played badly, but I liked the experience overall.
And everyone was very much interested, pretty much. When someone plays d4 against you, everyone is expecting we're going to see a Grunfeld with at least one of the knights being on the edge of the board. But now you've employed the Slav defense here. Is that to avoid your preparation for the candidates, or was it just a spur of the moment to maybe have some fun?
I thought it was a good time to test out new openings. No, I've been wondering for a long time how to expand my repertoire, and of course I didn't have that much time until now because my playing schedule was just frantic. So especially in 2019. So now there's some official tournaments, but that are online, but with the top players. So I thought it's a very good test for new openings, and overall I'm very happy. I tried it out.
Yeah, so immediately after that you had 1 day rest, and then immediately the FIDE Chess.com Nations Cup started, which you again took part in. So was that exhausting? I mean, playing from one such big tournament immediately to the other, this time being a team event.
Yeah, no, because I didn't qualify to the semifinals and finals, I actually had like 4 or 5 days.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Which was better to adjust, but yeah, it was again a very interesting experiment. Of course, having Gary as team captain was also, I mean, not a burden, but like we had to.
You felt pressure to perform. Well,
yes, exactly. We felt like we had the duty to perform well, and overall we didn't manage to qualify, but
yeah, it was by a half a point margin.
Yeah. We've had tough fights, and in general we were fighting for every point. So I mean, I'm proud of the way we behaved, and of course we missed out, so that's always unfortunate. But yeah, I was very happy with the experience, and so with having Gary as team captain to remind us of our blunders at the end of the games, but also of our good moves, and generally the team spirit. I mean, of course, there was no actual team reunion except on Skype, but yeah, everyone was done to fight for each other. So I think that was cool.
Yeah, that was one of the things I wanted to ask. How was Gary as captain? So all the best.
Yeah, I mean, well, he maintains the level of sorry, I'm missing the words.
Okay.
1 second.
Use French.
Yes, exigence, but that's yeah, level of requirement.
Okay.
Yeah, he maintains the level of requirement that he asked from himself for his full career, so that's fine. Because if he was less demanding with himself than with others, then it wouldn't work. But as as I know, is very demanding with himself. Of course,
even whatever he does,
he's right to ask the best from his players.
Yeah, he's in it to win it, whatever he does.
Exactly. Yes.
And since you also mentioned the simultaneous exhibition, you've won 22 games, I believe. Drew 3.
Yeah, 22, lost 1, and drew 3.
Drew 3, yeah. And it's I've made a video on your game against Ivan Ljubicic. I've read on your website you invited him personally to play on the simul, and like so many of the comments were, there's no way he played that game. He used an engine. There's no way someone can play like that. And I don't know if you had the time or the opportunity to check out the game.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, of course, on the internet, there's always going to be this type of reaction. So it's, it's hard to ignore them, but sometimes it's best. I mean, I don't see any reason to suspect that Ivan was using an engine, and it would surprise me very much from him. I mean, I've been following him as a tennis player, and I think when you're at that level of competitiveness, you also don't feel like, I mean, the point of using an engine. Why?
Yeah.
Why would it come to his mind? Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, I think the game was pretty normal. Maybe Ivan was a bit lucky with some moves he didn't see.
Regarding rook captures on c6,
yeah. So that happens, but otherwise his moves were pretty logical. And, I don't know his true level, so I've not played any other games with him, so I don't know how likely it is that he played that well. But in general, he's found moves that a lot of players could find. I mean, he clearly had a very good day at the office, and
and he prepared specifically the Sicilian.
Yeah, unless we prove me that there was indeed cheating, I mean, I see no other reasons than to congratulate him on a very good game, which actually I've done so already. But really, I mean, I see like the chances he cheated, if I want to give a number, would be less than 5%.
Yeah.
Much less. So, but of course, like, I cannot give proof. Like, it's always the problem. You cannot give proof that someone cheated or didn't cheat. So, but I don't see the point in discussing that. I think it was a fun game. I think he played well, and Ivan played well, and that's it. Yeah.
Okay. No, I'm asking because I was following.
Yeah, it just bums me out that people are, so.
It almost sounds like
we perceive to recognize good sporting performance. Like, I mean, everything is possible. Like, I mean, not everything, but you don't have to be defiant on every result that is achieved, I think.
Yeah, but it almost borders on jealousy, I think.
Also true.
Okay, so that's basically it regarding for the moment online chess and what everyone pretty much. I've asked people to send me some questions to help me prepare, and like, aside from the questions, how do I become a master of Najdorf? Like, the next most popular topic is the Candidates Tournament 2020, which I imagine you were expecting. So here I found on your website, mvlchess.com, which is actually extremely detailed. I found a post you've published on March 8th, 2018. You've said, next Saturday, March 10, all eyes from the chess planet will be on Berlin, where the 2018 Candidates Tournament takes place. Maybe I will feel a little heartache, as I myself missed the qualification so narrowly, but it's only a matter of time, and so on. So this time you've also missed the qualification by just that little bit of fraction in the World Cup to Rajabov, and then regarding the highest average rating also only to Anibiri, I believe. Yeah. And so how was that? I mean, the second heartache, that I didn't see you publish anything regarding this one.
Well, first of all, of course, I mean, I don't know what I would have posted, like, if the Candidates Tournament had started without me, but when it started, I actually wasn't there, so this was a bit different. But yeah, not qualifying was extremely painful, obviously, and because I mean I knew I had a full right to to compete in that in that tournament. I mean I mean in terms of chess strength, I had a full right to be fighting to be a challenger of Magnus, and yeah, it was very painful to miss out every time due to combinations of lack of stamina. Of course, I mean 2019 had been very exhausting, and I finished the season like in Jerusalem in borderline burnout. Yeah, just physical burnout. And of course also, I mean, some could say lack of luck wasn't so involved, because for instance, prior to the Grand Prix series, I expected that an overall score of 15 points was extremely likely to qualify for the candidates. That was my estimation, and I still think it was a right estimation. I finished with 16 points and didn't qualify. So overall, I had actually good results. It just I just wasn't flushed because of again, combination of maybe not being able to pull my level to a good enough level that all other factors wouldn't matter. So like I failed to do what of course Caruana managed to do in 2018 and Ding managed in Caruana in 2017 and Ding in 2019, to be good enough that nothing else, I mean no luck, no lack of luck, nothing could affect their qualification. For other players, it was pretty much tooth and nails, so everything could happen. And I was not the only one, of course, the only good player who could complain about missing out. I mean, the level of the players nowadays is so good that that there's just a lot of players that could that could argue a good that they have a spot in the candidates, just not guaranteed.
And now at the now it's adjourned mid-half, so it needs to be continued. But you and Jan Nepomniachtchi are leading the tournament. So also, what I want to know is that morning when you woke up and you received that email from FIDE asking you, would you maybe enjoy taking part in this candidates tournament 2020? How fast did you accept their offer?
So the thing was, I was coming back from a holiday, so I was very lucky in that sense that I actually took this time in early 2020. I mean, I played in Gibraltar, but in a vacation type of mind, just trying to rest my brain from an overall excess of chess and excess of games that had a real impact on my career. So like in that sense, the end of 2019 was so frantic in that sense that I mean, nobody else other than players who've played for instance, game-winning candidates in the candidates, or of course World Championship matches, had tougher schedules than I had, with one World Cup semi-finals, a lot of Grand Prix, Grand Chess Tour finals, and so overall a lot of events, and none of them could be used as a rest to prepare for the next one. Now everyone on their own had a lot of importance. And so yeah, 2020 was just about resting, or so I thought. And so I went on a vacation in New York. So of course, in hindsight, maybe that was not the same thing to do, but we didn't have enough information on the coronavirus and the COVID-19 to take maybe the correct decisions at the time. So I went there. I had a fun time with my friends, and so I came back to France. And then when I'm in the taxi to come back to my place, I received this message on Facebook saying that hypothetically it's possible that a spot opens up. So my first reaction was basically to just say yes. And then I called, so first my manager so that he could get in touch if needed with the organizers to work out details in the case that it was confirmed that a sport had freed up. And my chess coach, Etienne, so that he could be ready at a moment's notice to get computers up to date, and also a chess team of seconds so that they could work full time for the 2 weeks, and then of course during the tournament, but also the 2 weeks before the candidates started, less than 2 weeks, because I received that message on the 4th of March and the tournament started on the 17th. So yeah, less than 2 weeks was less than ideal, of course, to prepare and to make sure that there was no gaping hole in my openings. But overall, given that I'm in the lead, I put a lot of pressure on my opponents with white and managed to survive with black. So in general, yeah, I mean, they've done an amazing job in this time span, and so I'm grateful to them. I mean, to everyone who's helped me, and I'm grateful to myself also for having this fresh state of mind, and which meant that I could be excited by the opportunity, fully excited, and I played my best chess in at least 4 years, I think.
Mm-hmm. And do you think it maybe also posed a problem for your opponents in the candidates that, you didn't have all that much time to prepare, but they didn't have all that much time to prepare for you?
No, I think the way it works that they were prepared. I mean, they were prepared generally on their opening, so they were ready to play more or less against anyone. So of course, clearly, I was at a theoretical disadvantage here, but the one thing is that, especially maybe for the favorites, it's always difficult to cope with an element of surprise, and there were a lot of elements of surprise. Of course, there was the situation with the virus, which meant that, of course, it was difficult for some of us to get to the actual location. It was some additional mental stress. I think Fabiano had a couple of flights cancelled, for instance, before reaching Yekaterinburg. And I was also one element of surprise. And of course, in that sense, I think it's harder to cope with the element of surprise than actually preparing for my openings. At least that was my assessment.
Did you find it odd when Rajabov declined to take part in the candidates tournament due to, the current situation?
Yeah, I think everyone was willing to take part in, but clearly there were some things that, of course, were worrying for every player. It's just strange that Timur didn't try to connect with other players. I mean, it's difficult also because at the same time they're competitors, but clearly some players expressed discomfort, and it's clearly at the same time, FIDE tried to organize, FIDE and of course the organizers in Yekaterinburg tried to organize it as best as they could given the circumstances, and there were a lot of things to do. But if 3 or 4 players come to the organizers and say we really don't feel comfortable, I think we think it's better to postpone it, then clearly there were more than one sort of voice. So this was maybe this was one of the reasons that the tournament was not postponed. That if players were discomfort, they didn't manage to express it in a
singular voice.
Coordinated way. Yes, exactly.
And do you think people have been guessing when the tournament finally continues? Is there any possibility for Radžabov to actually take part in the tournament? Like I've seen some ideas that let him play a game against everyone, so he also played the first part of the double round robin, and then the tournament just continues with 9 players, and that's only one of the ideas that I've seen. So do you think it's in any way possible?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of options. That's not up to me to decide, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
But yes, theoretically, it could be possible to work out. At the same time, of course, it's difficult to weigh in, especially from my point of view. It's difficult to give an unbiased opinion. But when you give up your spot, it's difficult to get it back, and especially now that the tournament has started, it's difficult to get d.o.o back in the tournament in a way that makes it fair. Like for instance, if he has to play a game against everyone, that's not fair to him because he has to come to play 7 extra games. To prepare for 7 extra games, we prepare only for 1. That's kind of really, really difficult to cope with. So, from my point of view, I cannot interfere with this process. I think it's up to d.o.o and FIDE to see if they can work out some sort of agreement, or maybe they cannot. But that's not up to me to decide. But clearly, in hindsight, is decision to abandon his spot was justified. We just didn't have enough information at the time because clearly all of the players did travel. So at some point it's hard to process everything, and
that's for FIDE to figure out.
Yeah.
And I've always found it interesting to ask this pretty much anyone. What are your thoughts in general about the way the 8 participants are chosen for the candidates? So you have one that is former World Chess Championship challenger, being Caruana, one being the highest average rating, that's Anish Giri. Then you have the 2 qualifiers of the World Cup, 2 qualifiers of the FIDE Grand Prix, one qualifier of the FIDE Grand Swiss. And do you agree with those criteria?
I think there's actually too many criterias.
And also the wild card, I forgot about that one.
Yeah. So of course, if I had to remove one thing, it would be in priority the wild card. I think the qualification is tough enough for everyone that you just cannot give one free spot, even with strict criteria, because there are a lot of players who have been missing out in this year's candidates. I'm thinking about Levan, of course. I'm thinking Hikaru had a bad year, but you cannot rule him out. There's Sergei Karyakin, there's Vishy Anand, there's Shah Mamedjarov. So it's difficult to just give this one spot almost for free to the organizer when it's it's only 8 players. It's a chance of a lifetime for most of the players. So I think it really has no business existing. And then the problem was, and for instance, I think the Grand Swiss was an interesting experiment, but I think it has an element of luck that makes it unsuitable to pick only one player. So like, I mean, this year, for instance, we were lucky that the actual winner of the tournament was qualified, but if Magnus or Fabiano had won, then the qualifier would have been the second or even the third place, and that could definitely be decided on tiebreak criteria that
it could be below 2,700 player, let's say.
No, but that's not the issue. The thing is, basically, if you play 10 times the same tournament, I mean, there's gonna be like, if we discount Magnus and maybe Fabiano, there's gonna be 10 different winners, basically. So it feels like an improper way to qualify someone. I think what was done in the Austria, in the interzonals, which sometimes were these big opens, where like 3 or even 5 players qualified to the actual candidates. Mm-hmm. And then there's a lot more fights, and also one big advantage, like in the last round, everyone's fighting for one of these 3 or 5 spots in the top boards, and there's no situation where one of the players is fighting for the top spot and his opponent is not.
Yeah, it was definitely more interesting.
Yeah, so I think, and I think like this way, you know, with this different criterias, it was all done to a bit of luck. Like it didn't emphasize too much stability. And one other thing is, of course, the weighting average. That was just mathematically wrong, because if you're up in the weighting on the 1st of February mm-hmm. of the year, then you have a much higher chance to qualify than if you're having a good year. Let's say you start with 2770, you finish the year with 2790. That's worse than starting the year with 2790 and finishing the year with mm-hmm. 2770. Or even like, let's say 2780.
So is the problem in it being the highest average rating, or is the rating criteria in general a bad idea?
No, the problem is when you start the year higher rated, like also February and March are not very busy months. So basically you keep your rating. And so if you're like 20 points higher than someone, well, basically you keep these 20 points. And then even if you lose 15 points, you're still higher than that person. So you keep a higher rating, so you keep an advantage on your average rating, mm-hmm. Despite having a worse year, because you lost, let's say, 3 games and your competitor didn't lose any. So he's had a better year than you, but you're still ahead of him. And there are extreme cases where it just doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, I meant at the time that the candidates were chosen, you were I think higher rated than Anish Giri, right?
By small margin, maybe. I mean, like,
yeah.
It was just like we basically had the same year. Uh-huh. In terms of classical games, we had more or less the same performance throughout the year. But the thing was, in September, it was already guaranteed to be higher rated than me, mm-hmm. Despite not having a better year than me.
Yeah. And what do we have? And okay, so basically So
the World Cup is a very tough event, and it's very difficult to make it to the finals. I know that from experience. But generally, a lot of times you see the same players. Of course, you've seen Levon win it twice. You've you've seen Ding reaching the finals twice in a row. So Peter Svidler has been winning it and making it to the finals a lot of times. So there's this element of stability that doesn't come with a Grand Swiss. And of course, the Grand Prix is very stable by definition, because of course it's three events that everyone is playing in. So of course you can have one really bad event, but you still keep chances, like Jan did by losing in the first round in one and winning the two others.
Yeah. And so basically, out of 8 spots that FIDE grants the opportunity to play in the candidates, you can win 5. The other 3 are basically you cannot really win them. Like for instance, Fabiano Caruana, who was the World Chess Championship challenger, he can basically sleep for 2 years and he will still play in the candidates tournament.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it feels normal that the last challenger is granted, or the last world champion, in case, of course, the challenger wins the match, which has not happened recently. Feels normal that he gets a spot in the candidates to try his luck. Of course, he doesn't get a rematch, an immediate rematch, but he gets a chance to.
Okay, so basically the only
to recover. But so on the final note, it's just that there's that made for like 5 qualifying events that we were scheduled to play in if we wanted to qualify. So 3 Grand Prix, 1 World Cup, and 1 Grand Swiss event. And I had to skip the Grand Swiss event for calendar reasons. So to keep fresh for the last Grand Prix. So that was one other thing I have to say I didn't like about the system of adding too many events, and then suddenly you cannot fight for your chances in every of these events, because I would have been happy, of course, to play in the Grand Swiss if it had been like possible to play it, not coming back from 1 month's fight in Khanty-Mansiysk.
So basically, the one thing everyone agrees on pretty much is that the wild card needs to go.
Well, I'm not sure that everyone agrees. Some people think that wild card is a good thing to find organizers, and they have a point. But in terms of sporting merit, of course, it has simply zero business being.
So
existent.
Let's say the wild card would make more sense if it was 12 players instead of 8.
Well, even then, no. I think the wild card system, as it exists, for instance, in tennis, it's like you organize a Grand Slam event, you get like 4 or 5 wild cards, maybe a bit more, but among 128 players. And the Chess World Cup is probably working the same. I think you have 6 organizers wild cards, or maybe 4 organizers wild cards and 6 FIDE wild cards. So that's like 10 wild cards overall, over 128 players. That seems fair, and that could help, for instance, giving a spot to a player who should actually have business being there, or it can help some young players to get a chance at this level of competition. But here, the candidates is just too special. I think you're basically coming to fight for the spots, and I think you need to have qualified for it, because it's an 8 players event, and and the winner is gonna play against as it is Magnus. So I think you need to have qualified. You need to have proven your skills.
Okay, so now after 7 rounds, you are with Jan Nepomniachtchi leading the tournament. This is the closest you've ever been to challenging the world champion for the title. By far, yes. And do you already sometimes imagine it yourself, challenging him for the title?
No, I'm more down to earth. So so I was down to earth when we started the competition, because we knew, or at least I knew, it could it could be aborted at any moment, given the situation, and it turned out to be aborted when the borders closed in Russia. And so here, yeah, I mean, I know that I have one mission to accomplish first, and then if I win the candidates, and of course I'll be putting every resource I have into winning it when the competition resumes. Then I'll be thinking about the match on how to prepare, and of course to make myself ready for the big clash.
And also, what's the difference? For example, everyone in the world has a negative result in classical chess against Magnus, aside from Nepo. I believe he's still the favorite in that one. But what's the difference? I think you have like 8 wins, 2 losses, and 18 draws against him in classical chess.
8 losses, 2 wins, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So what's the main difference? And it's pretty much the same with everyone except Nepo. So what's the main difference when you face him than when you face anyone else?
Well, he's just been #1 for so long that he is simply the better player in general. That doesn't mean I cannot fight him, and that doesn't mean that if I'm playing the World Championship match against him, I'm not gonna play it to win it. Of course, I will, but he's been the most consistent, so one player who's made the fewer mistakes over the last 10 years. So overall, that counts for something. It's a bit more recent, but now he's probably the best prepared player in the planet, and this way he manages to put everyone problems. I mean, to set problems to everyone during the game. So of course, like on occasions, it's very possible to fight against him, and he has obviously some weak points. But yeah, overall, he has more stability than others. He has more. He has managed to pose everyone more problems than the others. So this way, he gets better results in tournaments, and this way, he collects a good score against everyone. So yeah, there's no denying he's a stronger player as of now.
And is it? Do you, for example, do you get more excited when you play him than you play someone else?
Well, it depends. I think for me it matters. It's also a matter of the tournament situation. Like if I'm not playing for anything, I will maybe like the competitiveness that is required to face him. But yeah, otherwise it's of course a big challenge, and you need to come with this strong attitude that you have a chance against him, because if you don't, he will crush you. So you have to come with the intention of winning it.
Okay. And well, not regarding so much the candidates, but it kind of leads to it from the candidates. What's your thought on deciding the world chess champion? Like, do you think it should the title should be decided in classical time format, or are you okay with going to rapids and blitz and let's hope not even let's say world champion being decided in an Armageddon game?
Well, I mean, historically, of course, it's been matches, but Magnus has made the suggestion to make it a mix. Like, you play still a lot of days of classical chess time control, and then there are some days where you play these matches. So, like, I think that's also his idea when he created the Magnus Invitational. Mm-hmm. Like, to play these 4 games of 15 minutes, and I think that's one of his ideas, that you can play like one day with 16 games blitz, or I don't know, and one day with 4 rapid games, or maybe 2 days, and you play still like 12 days of classical games. So I think maybe this is a way to to avoid actual tie breaks. And in general, I think everyone is from the top is ready to play some good blitz and rapid games. I mean, for instance, Fabiano has been pointed out as a weak rapid player, and now he's been MVP of the last Nations Cup, and also was very close to qualifying to the finals 2 weeks ago in the Magnus Invitational. So everyone is very capable of handling it. And another suggestion, I think, in the actual World Championship, I think there's a free day every 3 days. So like you play 2 games, you have a free day, you play 2 games, you have a free day. I think that's just too many free days. So like that lowers the experience for the spectators, because you play 2 games, you have to wait, and then when it comes to the breaking point, so you after game 10 you have 2 more games to decide who is the winner. So now it's going to be 14 games, but at the moment you had 12 games, so 10 games. Okay, you're really willing to see some fights, then you have a free day. It's okay, so you come back as a spectator, you see game 11, and okay, let's say it's a draw, or even there's a win, and the last round is the must win. Then what happens? You have another free day. I mean, I don't think that works simply. And I think in terms of, I mean, it also would be a better test of stamina of the players if they had less free days. So let's say 1 free day every 4 games, so that's every 5 days. I mean, that's still a lot of free days, but it also will test the stamina of the players better.
Yeah, but then it's not so much the classical World Chess Championship, it's more of the general World Chess Championships. There's like, it measures everything.
Yeah, no, but that was one point, and I think that was an interesting idea. I mean, I'm not saying to adopt it. I don't have that power. I'm just thinking it's not a bad idea in itself. But the other point I was making about 3 days is definitely not about changing the time controls. It just, in general, there should be less 3 days for the spectators, and also to test the players better. And that way, I mean, it's not about making the players tired to get them to make more blunders, because I mean, I still think like one Wednesday every 4 days, every 5 days is basically what we have at every tournament. Of course, there's much more at stake and maybe much more nerves, but you also have you are much more prepared because you've been preparing for the last 6 months. You have a team of 3 to 4 players working full time to help you. So I think you should be ready to have less 3 days, and I think it would be a really good improvement.
Yeah, and it's much better for the spectators, which makes it more enjoyable, which makes it easier to find sponsors and everything.
Yeah, also it's like you can cover more games in as much time, so it's easier, of course, for the organizers to justify it to the organizers and to actually organize it.
Okay, so, and you also mentioned that I also saw it today on Twitter that the Magnus Invitational was only just the first of the 5 legs of the $1 million beast that is the Magnus Carlsen Chess Tour. I've seen the lineup for the Lindores Abbey has been announced. You are skipping this tournament, yes?
Yes, that's correct. I mean, I was not invited, and that's fair because I haven't performed well in the last one, in the Magnus Invitational. But obviously, I'm looking forward to get another chance, and I will probably get another one in the 3rd or 4th tournament. I don't know yet, but yeah, I'm looking forward to get another chance and hopefully to perform much better this time.
I've seen one of them. It says Chess Legends is the name of the tournament. Is it supposed to be like to invite elite players plus some of the chess legends from the old days?
Yeah, I have no idea. Like it's not my tour, so yeah. So I'm not in charge of the invitations. So, but yeah, it would be fun, for instance, if we could see could see Vladimir, for instance, who's recently retired, but who has been playing still quite strong in Rapid and Blitz, because he finished third in his last Blitz World Championship.
Okay, so that's pretty much it regarding the candidates tournament and the World Chess Championship cycle. So we're heading into some general chess questions, and the part that I'm looking forward to the most, and I think the communities as well, to learn a little bit more about you as a person, not so much as a chess player. So here's an interesting question, now and let's say 20 years ago. What's the difference between time spent studying and time spent playing 20 years ago and let's say now? What's the main difference?
Yeah, it's hard for me to say, in the sense that I grew up with computers, of course, but when I became really, really strong, already it was clear that you needed computers to work on your openings, and basically full time. So I missed, let's say, the old days where you were working with a chessboard in your pocket and looking at some position with your second. Also, I did have that experience a couple of times, but yeah, not on a daily basis. On a daily basis, I'm on my computer, I'm looking for some lines. Of course, my chess education when I was young was not about openings. I mean, of course, I was studying openings, but clearly not to the level of accuracy and depth that I am now. So I was first going myself as a player. So, of course, tactics is basically the only thing you keep as part as your training weapons when you're an elite player, just because you need to keep in shape, to keep your calculation, because otherwise, if you just look at the computer all day, it can soften your brain, and you can lose your ability to calculate deeply. But all the theoretical end games, actual strategical weapons, that strategical play, middle game, all general concepts and so on, it's all done when you're going as a chess player. So let's say between the age of from the moment you start till the moment you become a really good grandmaster, basically. I mean, that's not to say there's still not new things to learn. So like, if I'm coming across some nice end game, of course I will like to study it. There was this recent game between Lila and Stockfish, I think. This bishop.
The bishop move, yeah.
Yeah. That was a bit crazy. So there's always, of course, new things to learn. But as a practical chess player, of course, most of my time is now focused on openings. So I would say like 90% openings, and maybe 9% would be on tactics. And at the time, it was like when I was a teenager, let's say, it was like 20 to 30% openings, 40% middle game, end games, 20% tactics, and so on. And so yeah, there's a lot of and no, of course, the preparation. This is talking about the preparation for the actual chess preparation, but there's, of course, physical preparation, mental preparations that you need to take care of to be able to have the best stamina and the best to have in the best physical conditions to the actual tournaments.
So you say you're spending 90% of your time on openings. So how do you react, or basically what is your thought process when in the Magnus Invitational, Carlsen played that bishop c4 move against, is it really a Najdorf if we go bishop to c4? What's your thought process then? I don't know if you've seen the move before, or probably
No, I had not seen the move before. I mean, it was a fun experiment. It's not quite good, but it was a fun experiment. And the idea is quite nice that you then get back to Maroxy, and I didn't react best to it. So, like, again, that's one of Magnus' strengths. He manages to set new problems to his opponents because, of course, that's, for instance, one thing I don't like about the chess world is that, you know, when you're an elite player, you basically like playing each other in every tournament. I'm talking, for instance, about Grand Chess Tour. I don't like that, you know, the circuit is so closed to new players, to new young players. And, you know, the fact that, you know, I've been playing against Magnus for at least 100 games by now, and same with other players like Wesley So, like Anish, like Levon, like Fabiano. I mean, I've played 100 games with, or at least 50 to 100 games with each one of them. I think it's not great because then you're losing also the ability to surprise your opponents a little bit. But Magnus does it best in the sense that he manages to come up in general with new concepts against everyone.
But did it ever cross your mind when after using it against you, Magnus also used it against Nepo, and Nepo accepted the challenge, and then it just kind of fell apart? Did it cross your mind that maybe it would have happened if you accepted it?
Well, I have no idea. Like, it's hard to make these kind of predictions, but of course, Magnus definitely pushed it that day.
Yeah. Okay. And I'm interested in okay, now how can everyone, or anyone for that matter, let's say, become a super grandmaster? For example, Bobby Fischer, he said something in the sense that genius is 2% talent and 98% work. Was it like that with you, or?
I'm not sure. Like, it's hard to say. I think, of course, you cannot become an elite grandmaster without some talent to begin with. I think it's just impossible. But and I think everyone from the elite is very talented from the start, and you know, there's no one who suddenly started to work 8 hours a day and suddenly became an elite grandmaster. I mean, before that, we all were very, very good players to begin with. Maybe we sharpened our training schedule, but we were the best in our categories, in our age categories. We were grandmaster. I mean, maybe not for Vichy because he's older than me, so maybe it was. I mean, I don't remember at which age he became grandmaster, but now basically, if you're not a grandmaster by 14, it's gonna be very hard for you to break to the elite. I mean, the exception I can think of is Levon, but he was always very talented to begin with. So I think talent definitely plays a huge role into becoming a top grandmaster. I think you can, I mean, with no talent at all, I mean, you can work as hard as you want. You're not gonna make it. But if you have some talent and some understanding, maybe not as big, you can definitely make it to grandmaster level if you put the necessary hours and the necessary and not only the necessary hours, but do it efficiently. Of course, like you cannot just say I work for 5 hours on chess, I should improve. No, it doesn't work like that. You need to find the correct areas, to find the correct coaches, and so on to really improve.
And let's say in the top elite, maybe the 2700 club. Who is, in your opinion, the most interesting chess player to watch his games?
Levon is very interesting to watch in general. It was maybe more true like in the mid 2010s, but he was almost the best prepared player in the world. So he was always coming up with very creative and interesting ideas. So that got his game's special flavor to follow from the start to the end. And there were a lot of interesting moments in these games. But like Magnus' games are, of course, a joy to watch in general. Fabiano's games, I mean, there's a lot of competition, but when I'm playing in a tournament, I'm always enjoying when it's not my move to play, to just have a look at the other boards and watch how everyone is doing, and maybe be happy if I find some ideas there. So yeah, but Levon is the one name that I came naturally with.
Yeah. And do you also enjoy it when you're playing a game and the other players are checking out your position?
Yeah, if I'm really focused on my game, so like if I'm thinking, I pay zero to little attention to my surroundings. But sometimes it happens that it's my move to play, and suddenly I'm bothered by something. It's not other players, but by some noise. This can happen, but of course I try to limit it to as little as I can. So in general, everyone is welcome to watch my game, but yeah, I'm not going to be disturbed by it or change my focus.
And well, currently you're most known for your Najdorf and for your Grunfeld. What attracted you in these openings to specialize in them?
Well, I learned them from my childhood. I mean, basically from my early teenage years. And there were a lot of imbalances. So that was fun. And this is what I'm looking for. So when you're black, you have two possible strategies as an elite player. I mean, you know that draw is a very good result against everyone in the elite, unless there are circumstances forcing you to play at all costs for a win. Basically, I'd be happy to, to go to a game if I'm black, and if I know that in an hour I'm gonna make a draw. I mean, I know it's not great for spectators, and it generally doesn't happen because white has more ambitions than that, fortunately. But if white really wants to make a draw, there's nothing I can do. So you come with the idea that draw is a good result. So there are two ways you can achieve it. So either you're gonna play some solid opening, you're gonna accept a slightly worse position. Generally, you don't have much chances in winning the game, or you can try to create some imbalances, and there's more risk put up to it. So, for instance, in the Najdorf, every inaccuracy you make could be a losing mistake compared to, for instance, the Berlin. In the Berlin, you make one inaccuracy, normally it's not going to cost you the game. In the Najdorf or in the Grunfeld, it could happen. But at the same time, if white really wants a full-blooded fight and to get realistic chances to win, he has to allow counter chances. And this way, I mean, I've not been that successful in recent years with that approach in the Grunfeld, but in the Najdorf, I keep on winning some nice games. And this way, you give your opponent has to put himself at risk if he wants to win, and this way you do take more risk, but you also have chances to get a full point at the end of the day.
And since pretty much people know you're going to go for one of the two openings if they go d4 or e4, do they still manage to surprise you, or do you still out-prepare them?
Well, it depends, of course, because there's a lot of lines to cover. It often happens, of course, that I don't remember the exact details, and but then what's helpful is, of course, I have good feelings for the position, so I will either work it out from my memory or from my instincts from zero on. But of course, there are always moments where your opponent is out preparing you. Together with my team and with Etienne, we try to keep it down to a minimum. But of course, at some point, it's up to me also to be able to find the critical lines to avoid being being surprised, and maybe to surprise my opponents in those openings.
Okay, and one other thing I really enjoy is blindfold chess. I don't do it all that much myself, but let's say I can play one game, and maybe against maybe 1,500 player, I will most likely win a game against a 1,500 player. But there are, of course, since Morphy played, let's say, 3 or 4 opponents simultaneously, then you have Timur Garev, who I believe played 48 opponents simultaneously.
Yeah.
I don't know if that record's been broken or it still holds.
Probably not.
But I mean, do you sometimes play it?
Well, I mean, playing blindfold is just something that comes naturally. I've never played simultaneous. I mean, blindfold simultaneous. Okay. So I have no idea how many boards I could handle. But what I think is that, at some point we had this, there was this Melody Amber tournament in Monaco where there was some blindfold section. And also at some point I had an experience playing in a blindfold event in the World Mind Games in China 2011 or something. And I thought that was really nice. It's extremely challenging to play a competitive game of blindfold, much more than, just being with a friend and blitzing out moves from your brain. But here, again, the way you had this sense of responsibility when you play an actual move, the way it worked was we were on a computer sitting in front of each other and we were playing the moves on the board, but every move could be costly. And there was a game, I think Gatakamsky blundered. He thought like Black Spawn was, I don't remember the exact detail, but like he probably thought Black Spawn was on h6. He played with g6 check, and there comes h takes g6 and instant result. So you have to focus on every little detail, and I think that's a nice thing. And I'm a bit sad that there's not been enough blindfold events in the recent years.
I think also in Amber Rapid, I think Karpov blundered a queen to Judith Polgar.
Of course, blunders are very likely to happen. There was one case where I was very lucky because like I thought my rook was on f8, it turned out to be on e8, so I tried to play rook f8 takes f2, and it didn't work. But I had not like blundered the piece in the process, just to be aiming for that rook takes f2. So, this sort of blunder of moments where you forget the actual board happened, but I think that's part of the challenge. I think it's good to challenge ourselves. Of course, a blindfold tournament is much more challenging than basically anything else. I think if you play three rapid blindfold games, it's going to be a hell of a difficult day. But I think that's fine. I think it would be fun and spectacular for the audience. And also what's quite amazing is that we do keep, apart from the occasional blunder, we keep a very, very decent level of chess. I had one game against Ivanchuk where Vasil calculated like a 10 moves long line very, very accurately, and I was extremely impressed that day.
And tell me, when you close your eyes, can you see the board like really clearly, or how do you visualize it? For example, when I try and play it, sometimes I don't remember what the board actually looks like, so I have to replay the moves, and then I have the position. But like you can do it instantly, it's just there.
Yeah, no, sometimes it's part of my thinking process. So I sometimes close my eyes, but most likely I will just look away from the chessboard. So from for instance, look to the ceiling. And then just to get a grasp in my brain of the actual position to implant the pieces on my brain, and then I can start moving the pieces in my brain. And this way I have more focus when I'm calculating deep lines. And then, of course, I come back to the physical chessboard for verification. But it does happen that occasionally this visualization process in your brain is more efficient than actually looking at the chessboard.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And regarding preparing those openings that you've mentioned that you spend 90% of your time on, do you use like a general engine like Stockfish? Do you use new neural net AIs like Lila Chess Zero? Do you have a computer?
Well, I use a mix of the engines. Mm-hmm. Basically, every engine has their own strengths and weaknesses. Of course, Lila was a game changer, but my preparation doesn't consist exclusively of Lila. But mm-hmm. It's been very helpful in some areas.
And regarding the strength of your computer, do you have like a really powerful PC, or do you have maybe access to a supercomputer, or?
Just a second, maybe.
You have to say sorry about that when you do that.
Yes, sorry about that. Wait, no, it's not the correct one.
Okay.
Yes, I have. Okay, sorry, very sorry about that. So, wait.
Okay, now I see what I look like.
Yes, victory. So, okay. Where was I? Yeah, I just forgot to plug in my computer. Mm-hmm. Rookie mistake. So, the question was, sorry.
Yeah, we were talking about openings. I was, do you have like a really strong computer, or maybe I've heard some grandmasters actually have access to supercomputers for their.
Well, I mean, Sasha Grishuk was saying in a recent interview that he was only working with a laptop until he hired Etienne, who is my coach, mm-hmm. as the second in the Kazan candidates. By then I was already not using a laptop. Clearly you need a workstation to make your engine more efficient. Of course, when it comes to Lila, you need powerful graphic cards and so on. And this way, of course, you can be more efficient. But yeah, working on a laptop is, at least for elite players, an obsolete way of preparing.
Yeah, you'll have to wait like 10 minutes or so for to get to the bottom of things.
No, 10 minutes is what you have to wait when you're on an actual workstation. If you're on a laptop, you're probably gonna need 3 to 4 hours.
Okay, then yeah, Sasha definitely has a lot of time.
Well, no, that's what he was saying. He was always getting out prepared by these moves, and he was spending a lot of time on his openings. But he thought for a moment his opponents were just really, really too brilliant, and then he realized they got some extra help that he didn't have until then. But he made up for that.
Yeah. And you've represented France in the Olympiad, I believe 7 times, yeah?
Yeah, from 2006, so yeah, 7 times.
And now, is it official that Firouzja is joining the French team, that he will be playing for France, or is that still not official?
Well, it's still not official. I think he needs first to get French citizenship. It would be exciting, of course, if it turns out that Firouzja French joins our ranks, and yeah, I mean, I would be very happy to welcome him to our federation.
How big of a boost would it be for the French team?
Well, depending on getting the right atmosphere and right conditions to play, I think like it's a very big contribution, because it could be a top scorer. It could work well, to fight against the elite. So yeah, like I remember there was an Olympiad where I think Vladimir was one of his first Olympiad Kramniks, where he was down to board 3 or 4 and scored like 8.5 out of 9. So I mean, we're not asking for that, but that's the kind of performance that's totally clutch, and that could happen with Firuja when he's on good shape.
Yeah, it could happen. Maybe even a 9 out of 9. Who knows? But you said you've missed basically that part where you go through the books, you set up the position from the books of the board, that you are a computer generation. Have you had any role models from the past, from the chess world when you were growing up?
Yeah, mostly I was impressed by Fischer with his interesting life stories. The games were quite amazing to study, and his style was very nice very enjoyable, and yeah, I think I learned a lot from studying his games. I mean, not only his games, obviously. I mean, I studied others, but he was a chess inspiration growing up.
Yeah, and also I've heard many chess players have certain rituals before big games. Do you have any weird rituals before going to a game, or is it just sleep late and play a game?
No, I don't have a ritual in itself. I just have a routine. So, like, for instance, in the candidates, I was waking up, so going to breakfast and watching some TV show and so on. And then, like 1 hour before the game, you start remembering your lines to be able to play them and remember them. So you work them out for like 45 minutes. So and yeah, I mean, I was just trying to have also some music to refresh my mind before going to the games. Generally, I have one song that I keep for the tournaments. That I mean, I will listen to other songs, but I will have this one song that I will listen just before going to the game. But apart from that, I don't have ritual. And the song has to change in between tournaments.
Ah, okay. It's not Eye of the Tiger, is it?
No,
it's not. Okay.
It's never been Eye of the Tiger.
Okay. And do you have any thoughts on, for example, Armageddon and the way to decide outcomes using Armageddon? And which do you prefer playing, black or white?
Yeah, strangely enough, I've not been performing too well in Armageddon, but I mean, I think at some point you have to get a tiebreak between the two players, and if you get, like, at some point in the World Cup, there were you would come to the Armageddon only after 5 sets of blitz games, and there was one match in the first one that was between Akobian and Pavel Tregubov, that lasted until 1 in the morning. And since then, we've been more realistic. And, for instance, my match with Levon that came to the Armageddon was already a 6 hours match. So that's with the intensity that we had been providing and of course, the things at stake. It was actually a very, very good quality match. And at some point, you have to tie break the players to break the tie. And Armageddon is the most efficient way to break it. Maybe not the most fair, but you've had like 6 hours to get the tie break, so that's fine. I mean, I think it's okay to make it down to one game. As to black and white, I guess rationally you should take black, but at the end of such a match, there are a lot of things coming to your mind. So like if you've set your opponent a lot of problems with white, you're likely to pick white if you get the chance. But I think if we wanted to sort out the correct time control to make the chances even between white and black, then you would just need a computer and simulate games, as many as you can, and then you would start getting a good idea. I think, the fact especially that there's increment after move 60 works in favor of black at the moment, but
Okay, so you've started your chess journey since when you were 4 years old. Is that correct? Again, you're
5. I learned the rules of chess when I was 5.
Yeah. Okay. I think I've also read on your website that you got a chess set for Christmas, and that's basically when you started. And I do recommend everyone to check it out. There are a lot of cool stuff there. Also, a nice photo of Maxime when he was like 3 years old and 4 years old and 5. Very detailed website. But when in your life did you really feel that this was your calling, or maybe you don't feel it's your calling? Maybe you're still looking into something else.
No, I mean, clearly chess is and has been a huge part of my life for the last 25 years. But it's come just naturally. So so when we had this chess set, the whole family has a chess set. I mean, I'm just the one who ended up using it the most. For Christmas, I just started playing games. So it was an electronic chess set, so you could, type on a square. I think E1 was the easiest mode, and so I would play 1 game a day until I bet this mod. And I remember I lost the very first game, so on E1. And then on the next day I won, and then I won on the next 24 days at least.
Mm-hmm.
And so step by step, I improved. I did start to improve quite a lot. I mean, of course, there was a book so that I was reading, and then we went to a chess club. I had an actual chess coach and started. And the thing is, I kept the passion, so I was still always down for a blitz game, always down to solve some tactics, to solve some position, always happy when I see some nice idea on the chessboard. So, and I think that's true for everyone in the elite. If you lose the passion, you lose your strength, you lose your ability to keep your focus, because if you lose your basic interest, then what's the point in even playing? And for instance, that's why, for instance, Ivanchuk and Vachier have been very good for so long. I mean, they are passionate about chess, and even though they've started it at a tender age, mm-hmm. And as for Ivanchuk, for instance, chess has been his life. Of course, there was Korchnoi also, who has been an elite player until almost the age of 70, and even then he was still done to some pretty good fights. I think he bet Fabiano when he was mm-hmm. almost 80 years old, or 80. So quite impressive. I mean, especially beating Fabiano when you're 80. I mean, that's just out of this world. But if you're not passionate, you're not gonna make it, at least to the very top. And keeping the passion is what maybe keeps the calling. And if one day I lose the passion, I know I will. My days will be counted at the chessboard.
Yeah. And you've gotten from around 2150 rating to over 2700 over the range of some maybe 7 years. So which part was the most difficult for you to cross?
Well, there were a few moments where, you feel like you're a bit stagnating, but as long as I kept the focus and started to work some things out, it went better. But of course, The absolutely most challenging thing was to break it into the elite, because I was a 2700 or close to 2700 since 2008. But then to actually make it to the top 10, it took me 6 years. Maybe because I didn't have the right training habits, maybe because I didn't come in the right state of mind, or maybe because I was just not doing some things right. And then, if you have some tough events, you start to adjust and then do better. And with the games and the chances you get more experience. And at some point, I finally broke into the top. And I've been in the top 10 for the past 5 years now. So I'm actually quite proud of that.
So you're saying that actually took you a long time, from 2700 to top 10. That's not a reasonable amount of time.
Well, it depends. I mean, sometimes you're just not going to make it any time in your life. And for some players like Magnus, it probably went from 2700 to top 10 in a year or so. So, there's no... But of course, not everyone is Magnus. I think for Fabi, it took him 2 years. For Dingliven, I think it took him 5 years. So, it depends. It depends on the players. I mean, I don't have the actual figure for every player, but that's the way I remember it.
Yeah. And you've mentioned playing against your mother, that the first game you lost. Is that your first memory regarding chess that you remember?
Well, then yes, because it's the actual first game I played. But it didn't stick in my brain. And for instance, like when I started playing competitive chess, so it was this qualifiers, first regionals, and then you have to, there's these departments and regionals, and then the actual French championship under 8. And so I was just starting, so I barely qualified both times first to the regionals and then to the French championship. I barely made it. I finished third in the first competitions and shared third in the second, I think, or maybe shared fourth. And then I qualified, and then I won almost effortlessly. I was like a complete newcomer to the French chess scene, and then I won it. So maybe that's my first big memory. So when I won that first French championship, and since then I've been the leader in my age category in France, and a bit more than that.
Okay, that's the first happy memory.
Yeah.
And also, I've heard that a lot of elite players meditate. Have you ever tried meditating?
Not really. No, meditating. It's just not something I'm good at. Basically, I don't have the patience to do it.
Yeah, I've never tried it myself, but I've heard that.
No, I know it's a powerful tool for some persons, but it has to be for the right persons. Like I know Djokovic, for instance, is using it. I think Fabiano is also doing it, but I'm just not in the state of mind of meditating. So for me, it would be counterproductive, I feel.
And also, you have a bachelor's degree in math. Is that correct?
Well, technically, I think bachelor degree is 4 years, but in France it's 3 years, so it's the equivalent, but just a bit less.
So if let's say you were not,
we call that a licence in French. French.
If you were not playing chess full time, would you be doing something that's regarding math?
Related to math?
Yeah.
Probably. I mean, I just decided to keep my academic studies going on for a bit further, just because I had this luxury of being able to do so, to still keep a competitive level in chess, play tournaments, and learn some things. Of course, keep some social contact also with people outside of chess. So I thought that was nice. And of course, math was a subject that interested me and still interests me. So it's very probable. So for instance, when I end my chess career, I will come back to studying math, but as a pure hobby, clearly.
Yeah.
So yeah, so clearly, had I not been involved in chess, I would probably have tried to investigate mathematics a bit further.
And is there perhaps anything you've learned in math that can relate to something in chess? For example, did it help you with anything in chess?
Technically, no. I think, I mean, I take it as two different subjects simply. And I know from experience that some players are not as skilled in math. And the other way around, some mathematicians are just not that skilled in chess. But of course, there are some, comparisons you could make that, there's this need for logic and, for logical reasoning. So like, you take it step by step and you try to break it down, to break the puzzle down in math, or the problem down, to try to solve it. And the same when you're working out the tactic, you do it one line at a time and so on until you come up with a solution. So there are some similarities clearly, but overall, it's not like you can learn math to get better at chess. That's not the way it works.
Yeah, no, that's not what I meant. I meant maybe something to
Yeah.
relate with it. But yeah, it's interesting, definitely. And a lot of parents are interested in how to approach the training of their children, how to approach chess in general. So, for example, what advice would you give to young Maxime if you were starting over?
Yeah, well, first of all, you have to get the right coach. I mean, you very rarely can make it without a coach. And it has to be someone, of course, who's a child, will appreciate as a human being, and it's the other way around. So you need to have some sort of connection. Then, of course, like the chess coach must probably be good enough, at least at the start, to be able to, to help the kid out, to really guide him. And also, like, it's possible to guide a complete beginner using some shortcuts, but that then are detrimental to his development in the later years. So I think it's good to have some ground fundamentals that are covered properly from the start, so that you don't get bad habits as a child. And then I think the one most fundamental thing is, like, chess is a wonderful game that I've been playing happily for 25 years, but not everyone's the same. And if a child, likes chess, but at some point wants to do something else, or maybe just doesn't enjoy the game at all, it's not necessary to push him to the limit. Like, you make the kid play the game if he enjoys it, if he wants it, but if he doesn't, it's counterproductive. So it's better to
like everything else.
Yeah, like everything else, exactly. So like, I'm only encouraging people to teach their son or daughter chess, and to if they want to get more into it, to get them a coach, to get them some good books and so on, to start to learn the game properly, and maybe playing competitively, but yeah, only if they want it, basically.
Yeah. Okay, so I've also read on your website that you're kind of a sports fan. It says that at a younger age you were a big fan of the I don't know if I can pronounce it, Olympique Lyonnais. Is that
Yes,
the way?
that's correct.
And also that you're a big fan of Roger Federer. So are there any other sports you enjoy, not only following, but maybe do you partake in any sports?
I like sports. I like playing sports in general. I'm just very weak at it, apart from chess.
Uh-huh.
But I like a good game of tennis once in a while.
Mhm.
And apart from that, I'm following more or less every sport with the exception of swimming.
Every sport with the exception of swimming, like
Cycling I will follow, snooker I will follow,
like curling.
athletics, curling. I've been watching some games of curling.
Okay, so that's definitely a sports fan. Okay.
Definitely darts.
Darts. Okay. Who's the best in darts?
Well, there's Van Gogh.
I meant
Michael Van Gogh.
Like, is there a country in general that's really good at darts?
Well, I mean, it's very popular in England. You know, you play it in the pubs.
Yeah, that's what I would say Irish, but yeah, okay, maybe.
Yeah, same thing.
Okay, so I'm not going to take too much of your time, but I will ask you a few more questions. Animal person, yes or no?
No.
No, like if you see a dog on the street, you're not going to go pet it?
No, definitely not. I mean, I'm not going to torture them. Of course not. But no, I have no attraction towards pets.
Okay. And regarding personal life, is there any girlfriend involved? Maybe I don't know if there's a wife. At least I don't think so.
Not at the moment.
Okay. And how important would it be to you that your future, let's say, girlfriend or wife is at least interested in chess, not so much that she has to play it?
No, I think it's two different things. So like there are advantages and disadvantages of of my girlfriend if she plays chess or not. There are some differences, and some things are good differences, some things are bad. So overall it just like it just depends. Like I don't have a preference.
Not in the slightest.
Not in the slightest.
Yeah, it's not like no girls are under 1800 elo. It's not like that.
No.
Okay.
No.
And also it says on your Instagram profile, it says a very brief description of yourself. It says chess player, games junkie. So what are some of the games that you enjoy?
I play a lot of card games. Recently I've been playing too much poker for my own good, but there's this French card games that's called d.o.o. Of course, I enjoy the occasional game of darts, board games as well. A good game on the computer, on the PlayStation, and so on. Basically, and of course, last but not least, a very good game of chess.
Yeah, that's okay. It goes without saying. And any specific games on computer or PlayStation?
I've been a big fan of Warcraft. Then, of course, football games. I've not yet started Fortnite, but maybe for my own good. As for board games, I don't know. Like I've played Catan quite a lot, and I've started other games. Like for instance, more or less every Saturday night we meet with some friends. We play some board games. Like during the lockdown, so we go on a Zoom reunion and we start playing some games.
I think someone mentioned you're a big fan of what's it called? Is it Avalon?
Avalon, yeah, as well, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I have not played it for some time now, but yeah, it was a good game. We played it first time in Norway doing the Norway chess. So Magnus bought it, and then we all started getting the hang of it. So we were playing more or less every night. I think it was 2016, and Levon loved being evil.
Okay. Yeah. I think I've played a similar game, but I think it was the evil guy was Hitler, and you had to figure out who was Hitler. But I think it's pretty much the same thing. But it's
it's the same idea.
Yeah, but it requires a lot of sneaky tactics, so it's it would appeal to chess players, I imagine.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a fun thing, and also it, in a way, it's more social. Like, for instance, the life between the elite chess players, we've not talked about it, but there's a lot of mutual respect in junior. So there's really, except for maybe a few exceptions, no animosity between the chess players. So, like, we're not friends. Okay. I don't think so, at least. So, like, but we have enough respect to, to get along well and to be able to take our fights to the chessboard. But in between that, we're behaving like normal gentlemen towards each other. At least that's my policy.
Yeah. Well, okay, a lot of, like, during some of the online events now, I think it was during the Magnus Invitational, there was this, they asked everyone this question, like, who would you take to the deserted island, or who would you be in quarantine with? And everyone chose you, like, you're a super guy to be around with. Who would you take with you?
I don't know. I mean, I would choose, I don't know, like, I have three players I would probably pick. I have to pick in between. It would be our choice between Levon, Fabi, and Sasha.
Levon, Fabi, and Sasha. Okay.
Yeah.
And why do you think pretty much everyone chose you?
I don't know. You should ask them, but I feel a bit flattered.
Okay, maybe I will. And okay, last in the life section, from the top of your head, any favorite TV shows, movies?
Yeah, I mean, Lifetime would be Breaking Bad.
Okay.
And then I don't know if Fringe was also a very good one. And then in recent times, of course, Better Call Saul, but that's a follow-up to Breaking Bad. And there's been one I've been enjoying quite a lot recently, but I can figure it out. So, but much more TV shows than movies, clearly.
Yeah, I think it's like that with everyone now, with the Netflix and everything. It's just
not everyone, but I just fall asleep during movies. Don't ask me why. I don't know, but I just fall asleep.
The last movie you fell asleep to?
I mean, I've not watched a movie in like 2 years, so.
I actually fell asleep in the cinema during Sherlock Holmes with Robert Downey Jr.
No, but okay, to give an idea of the extent of my sleepiness during movies, I fell asleep during Saw, during one of the Saw.
Okay. Okay, that's yeah. Okay, movies are not for you. And here we have the last part of our this conversation, and I've enjoyed it immensely. Are some of the questions from my subscribers. They are very short questions, so it's basically a yes or no. So I felt that it would be interesting to include them. Here we go. Number one, your favorite tournament win?
Probably Sinfield Cup 2017, because it was the first really big one.
That's one you consider favorite. Okay. The favorite game you've ever won?
I would say probably the game against Morozevich 2009.
It's the I know
Logchuk.
Yeah. They call it like the Maximus or something like that. But is there like a favorite game that you've lost?
No, not anymore.
No, not anymore.
Yeah.
Now you just enjoy winning.
Yes.
Okay. Is there any particular most memorable move that you've played?
Of course, it's Rook H7 against Morozevich, but I'm also thinking about this concept against Ding Liren, because something I found by myself. I mean, got it approved by computers with this knight c3, king d2 idea. It was in 2013. So I gave up one pawn and castled my king on move 8, and then locked down all his pieces on the king side, and won with this concept like what was actually a very cool game.
Okay,
and very enjoyable, at least from my side.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen it, but I will check it out.
Yeah, I'll send you a link.
Have you had a favorite field in math during your studies?
Arithmetics was kind of fun, but all the complex analysis and also fields like topology also appealed to me quite a lot.
Okay.
But arithmetics from the top of my head.
Arithmetics, okay. Do you have any let's say a childhood dream that you've always wanted to fulfill?
I really feel like down to earth.
You're really down to earth, so no.
In general, yeah.
No big dreams. Okay. Okay. This is one. How many games do you know by heart?
I don't even know my own games by heart, so very few, maybe 100.
Like the classics,
Yeah, but it's not even knowing them by heart. I mean, because of course, if I see a position, I will most likely recognize the game. I mean, if it's a classic, like so. But knowing it move by move, clearly not.
Okay, fair. Which player from the past would you like to meet and play? This is pretty much an always question for any chess player.
Of this time? No, wait.
No, of any time.
Of the past?
Yeah.
Maybe Bronstein.
Bronstein. Any specific reason?
Yeah, I mean, I've read his books, obviously, and he was very creative and a very interesting person. At least it felt like from reading his books. So I would have loved to know more about him.
Well, the 1953 Zurich tournament. That was one of
but this one was nice, but mostly the Sorcerer's Apprentice, which was much more detailed as a biography.
Okay.
But of course, the Zurich 53 is a milestone. Like you need to read it as a chess player.
Okay, here's a I think a really fun question. One of the subscribers asked, what was your first thought when you met Antonio for the first time? No
yeah, I've met you in Zagreb. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically, I was just so focused with my game because we were playing in the next 5 minutes. Because of course, when we come to the game, we come at the last moment. So I just mechanically said I and went to my game.
Yeah,
so
we
no special feelings about that encounter.
Yeah. Okay. We basically just ambushed you before the game. Can you describe yourself using 3 words?
So 3 words. I mean,
It's a tough one, huh?
No, I'm just looking for translation.
Okay.
Yes. I'm teasing. I like to tease people, so that's one. I am competitive, but only in chess. In other compartments, I'm not that much. And I pretend to be funny sometimes.
Okay.
At least that's what I would like to be.
Yeah, okay. I don't think I know the word for that, thinking that you're funny. But okay, teasing, competitive and trying to be funny. That's seems like we figured out why everyone would choose you for a deserted island. All right, beer or wine?
Beer.
Beer?
I know I'm French, but beer.
Yeah, everyone, people even sent me questions like which specific type of wine you drink, but I kind of thought you were a beer man.
Yeah, I am a beer man. No, it's just that, okay. No, basically every wine I've tasted, I don't like it so much, unless it's a really good wine. So like normally I'm not that elitist, but when it comes to wine, I have to be my palate, otherwise doesn't stand it.
Okay. Yeah, similar to my case. Are there, okay, this is a good one. Are there any good chess pickup lines? Or is
I've not tried enough of them.
You've not tried enough, but you have tried them.
Yeah, from time to time.
Yeah, it's like it's the same with chess jokes. Have you ever heard of a good chess joke?
No, I think it's an urban legend.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen people try, but I've never actually heard a good one. So still in the search for that one. Also, here's an interesting one. Thoughts on the Evans Gambit?
Outdated by 100 years.
By 100 years. But there's still this game that in 1995, I believe, Kasparov defeated Anand with it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've played it a couple of times in Blitz, but that doesn't mean it's a good opening.
Yeah, so it's definitely...
Sadly.
It's not even remotely applicable.
Well, it's not losing by force, but yeah, other than a surprise weapon, it just doesn't work.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Okay, interesting one. Have you ever had a dream involving chess?
Probably, but I don't have a habit of remembering dreams.
No.
So, but yeah, I mean, probably at some point it happens.
Yeah, sometimes when I have a really crazy dream, I'm like, yeah, I'm totally gonna write it down because I'm gonna forget it in the next 5 minutes, and I never do, and I always forget it.
Yeah, I mean, that's not your first instinct when you wake up.
Yeah. Okay, here's a bit of a philosophical one. Your greatest victory and most crushing defeat, but not in chess. Is there such a thing?
Not really. Like I live my life by the moment. I think my victories are, spending good times with my family and with friends.
Mm-hmm.
I think spending this kind of quality time is the most important thing in my life.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I think that's about it. That we have reached the end. I see that you have some issues with your throat, so sorry it took so long. I imagine that.
No, it's okay. I just didn't have enough water, but that's fine.
Yeah, you have to always have one prepared. While preparing for the podcast, since this is my first podcast, I've also learned that it's customary. Well, maybe not customary, but it's that I should ask my guest. Is there anything I should have asked you but didn't?
I think we covered a lot of ground. I think it was fun, and I don't have much to add myself.
Okay, so nothing to add. And also, I've been asked do you know the artist Huga? She makes some songs and everything.
Yeah, of course I know her. I've seen her live in a few tournaments, because at first she came to Gibraltar, and I've been, not lifelong member of Gibraltar, but 10 years member. And she also performed live in Norwich Chess, a new song. I think it was Tactital.
Well, basically, she asked me to tell you that she made a song for you, and it was supposed to be ready for today for the podcast, but it's not, since the editing is taking a bit longer. But for you, dear viewers and listeners, it will be available in the description below, so you can check out the Maxime song. It's basically.
I will definitely check it out.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, there you have it. You got your own song.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've really enjoyed it. Thank you, Maxime, for your time. Maybe
Yeah, thank you.
we'll see. Maybe we can do this some other time. Maybe by then you'll be a World Chess Championship challenger. Who knows? And
hopefully, yeah. Let's hope that we didn't bore the viewers in these last 2 hours. But I think overall there were a lot of interesting stuff we talked about. So
yeah, so
hopefully not everyone is been sleeping like I do during movies.
Yeah, so it wasn't an excruciating experience.
Nah.
So
nothing like this.
So you're saying you would recommend it to others to join the podcast?
Yeah, I think they should try.
Okay, very nice. And one of the questions also for the end that was asked by one of my subscribers is how come you've accepted the offer to come as the first guest on the podcast? You don't really know what to expect. I've never done anything like this.
Yeah, but I thought like it's a good experience. It's always nice also to share your views. Mm-hmm. And I feel like, I feel like a sportsman in the sense that, when you're an elite player, you have some sort of moral or ethical duty to, the audience, the spectators, to be able to share your thoughts with them, to mm-hmm. be able to take a few moments, maybe during competitions, if, someone from the audience is coming directly to a tournament and wants to engage with you, asking for an autograph or a photo, or just making small talk. I mean, of course, like I don't have time to speak with everyone on the planet, but if someone is interested enough in chess to watch YouTube videos, to come to a tournament, to watch my games, to ask me for a photo, I will do like every sportsman that respects himself and just do it. And I don't feel like it's a pain. I mean, I feel like it's a duty, but I also feel like it's interesting to engage with your audience.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's very commendable, and I'm very happy that it's so. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this podcast. Once again, thank you, Maxime, for joining me. And
thank you.
If you're not too tired, as we've previously talked about it, we will play one blitz game, a 5-minute blitz game. And but not live. It will be available for you in the description below. So the first thing you will see in the description below is a chess game analyzed by me, the game between me and Maxime. Did you prepare for it intensively?
I did it for the last 2 hours.
Yeah, that's what I expected. All right, so do check it out. Who knows what could happen. So once again, thank you, Maxime. Thank you everyone for watching and listening, and hopefully see you soon.